Hey, today I'm talking about all three live-action Punisher films. And the names of those three movies are The Punisher 2004, Punisher Warzone, and The Punisher 89. First up is The Punisher 2004. This is a perfect movie. No notes. It is, without a doubt, one of the greatest movies. It just works so well. Do I have nostalgia goggles for it? Probably. But does that mean I'm going to rank it any lower than it deserves? No, because it is just amazing. The basic premise is Frank is this former soldier who is an undercover FBI agent who screws over the wrong mafia guy, and then the mafia guy gets back at him, and then Frank needs to get back at him, and it's just pure amazement. Where do I start? I have to start with the soundtrack and the score, because without a doubt, the soundtrack is one of the best movie soundtracks, period. It is so of its time and it is so emo, but it is just all bangers, no skips. So perfect, so perfect. You got Drowning Pool, you got Muddle of Pud, you got Nickelback, you got Queens of the Stone Age, Seether. It just goes on and on and on. Just like, how did they make such a perfect soundtrack? It blows my mind. It's just perfect. If you've never listened to the soundtrack, just listen to the soundtrack on repeat for the rest of your life because it's perfect. But this time I'm watching it because I've seen it before, if you couldn't tell, so many times. Ooh, and it like slides off too. Look at that. Oh, there he is. There he is. Ah, it's so great. It's so great. Oh, it's the one that flips up too. Watch this. Wow. Wow. Oh, it's not even like in there. Wow, this is a lot cooler than I remember it being. Oh, the glue definitely broke off. Yes, anyway. I was really trying to pay attention to the score this time, and it really just like took me how good it is. Like the main theme is so good. It did a great job of elevating all of the emotion. It just, I don't know, man, it's so good. Okay, let's go into specifics more of the rest of it. I did watch the extended edition, which is the one that I have. And if you've never seen this movie before, I will say that like, though I do really enjoy everything within the extended edition, it does take a while to get to like the Punisher stuff. So it does kind of, in a sense, hinder the pacing. So I'd say maybe for a first time viewing, you could just do the regular edition, but then immediately go through and watch like the deleted scenes that are included in the extended edition and the animated short, because they're totally worth it because they're amazing. I loved the family reunion scene so much. The action is just unrelenting, and there's such incredible practical special effects. I mean, that's true of the whole thing, but it really highlights what this movie is because it shows off the incredibleness of this practical special effects. Like there's a guy that gets blown up and set on fire. That's such a cool stunt. There's these dudes in the back of a pickup truck during a car chase on a very bumpy road, and those dudes are back there. Ugh. Just a fun and well executed scene, and just perfect. It's just perfect. Oh my god, the torture scene, I was so looking forward to it, and then when it happened, I'm like, this is just perfect. There's no other word to describe it. It's just perfect. Maybe perfection. I love the theme about like good memories will save your life. I think that's a very true thing and a very beautiful message for the movie. The movie does a really good job too of like balancing this very serious, dark, disturbing world with some light, fun humor. That mostly comes from the neighbors, because you need some moments of levity to help balance it out so it's not just all depressing all the time. Plus then once bad stuff does get close to them, it hurts even more because you're like, oh, these are the safe characters. These are the characters that are here just for fun. But then scary stuff happens near them and you're like, no, you can't do this to these people. I love these people. One of them is Ben Foster, who gives an incredible performance. Love him to bits. I mean, really, I could shout out everyone in the cast. Thomas Jane is so perfect as the Punisher. So if you haven't guessed, I ridiculously love this movie. It was one of my favorite movies when I was a teenager for good reason. It is so fantastic, and I would without a doubt highly, highly recommend it. If you've never seen any Punisher related stuff, this is such a brilliant, amazing, incredible movie. It maybe didn't get the best critical score, but I don't care. I stand by my hard, fast love of this movie. It is just perfection from top to bottom. Yes, no, crazy love this movie, without a doubt recommend. Next up is Punisher Warzone. This is a 2008 film starring Ray Stevenson. It was originally meant to be a sequel to Thomas Jane's, but lots of issues came up, so it just didn't pan out. The basic premise is Frank accidentally kills a good guy, and so he wants to retire, but then the last bad guy he screwed over is getting revenge on some innocent people, so he's like, all right, one more time. And it was an interesting experience. It's very colorful and looks like it's a made-for-TV movie. It is ridiculously violent, like so absurdly over-the-top violent. And I would say it was a positive aspect of this film. It's definitely humorous at times. Like, the most incredible one is this one. Just perfect. I knew about that one going into it, but forgot about it until it was literally happening, and I'm like, oh my god, that's right. There is definitely a charm to it for sure, though it is hard to watch. I definitely like the guy who played Jigsaw, Dominic West. He was bringing the exact right energy to this, just very over the top, but still like intimidating and scary. I would say it's kind of reminiscent of like Jack Nicholson Joker vibes. I really wasn't super into Ray Stevenson as the Punisher, though they did do a good job of like keeping him as like a silent protagonist. He only really spoke when he needed to speak. They also did certain emotional moments really, really well. Like there's stuff with this woman and her daughter that just play so incredibly well. But then there's other moments that are just over the top silly that I'm just like, what are you doing, movie? What are you doing? So I like this movie. I enjoyed it. Would I recommend it? It's definitely more of like a turn your brain off type of movie. There are definitely elements here that are good and enjoyable, but there's other elements that are just terrible. So I'd say cautiously. If you think this might be your vibe, sure, go for it, but just keep your expectations in check. This definitely is not a movie for everyone, but it's definitely an interesting experience at the very least. And lastly is The Punisher, 1989. This is a Dolph Lundgren one. And man, I was just so bored with this. I have seen it before. I own it, but honestly, I may have fallen asleep the first time I watched it. The whole premise is that this Japanese gang is coming to America and they're trying to like take over the American gangs. And the way they do that is by kidnapping all of the children of the leaders of the gangs. And so the Punisher is going around saving the children because they're innocent. But like, how innocent are they? Like, I get it that they're children and you should give a shit about the children, but I didn't really give a shit about him saving them. Dolph, he was trying his best. This Punisher really gets his ass kicked constantly and gets caught constantly. And like, I like it when movies show that the hero isn't impenetrable, he doesn't have plot armor all around him, he can get his ass kicked. That's definitely nice. That definitely happened in the other two ones for sure. But this one, it's just like all the time. What they didn't show is him being capable, like him actually doing stuff well. I mean, like, he does eventually do his job kind of fine. But by that point, I was just like, he's just such a nothing. It's like, why are you even in this business if you just lose every single fight you're in? What are you doing? I will say, I did like the grittiness of this. This definitely has like a nice dirty streets of New York vibe to it. And the action was fun at times. So this wasn't a didn't like, because there are elements of it that I was into, but on the whole, I didn't super care for it. So I wouldn't recommend it. It really was not my vibe. So yeah, no, I didn't really care for it and I don't recommend it. It's not the worst, but you don't really need to check this one out. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got The Punisher 2004 sitting at number 1 in the really like section. Yes, it is above The Godfather, but I don't care. I say Punisher 2004 is better than The Godfather. And then after that is Punisher Warzone, sitting number 4 in the liked section, so really middle of the road. And then bringing up the rear is The Punisher 89, sitting at number 5 in the meh section. And this is out of a total of 6 old movies so far this year.